Yahweh the Creator said, do not worship the foreign gods. You'll find out where he said, do not do it under any circumstances. Do not take on the foreign wives. Do not marry them that have the strange gods, because they will draw you away from the Creator, and your end will be destruction. They can draw you far enough away that you become a reprobate person. You become worthless and useless. And you become one that's unable to obtain salvation. There is a point in time in an individual's life where they cannot obtain salvation, no matter how hard they try. Yahweh has given them over, and therefore he cannot take them back, because he is righteous, holy, and true. Well, let's get back to this First Amendment about prohibiting the free exercise thereof or establishing a religion. You see, it absolutely violates Yahweh's law. And it absolutely gives the inhabitants of America the deceptive right and freedom to honor, obey, and worship false gods. Many, many false gods. You see, the thing about it is, if we would have been founded as a nation based on the tenets and the statutes, commandments, and ordinances of the book, then the First Amendment would have read that Congress makes a law prohibiting any false religions and idolatrous worship, period. But they did not do that, see? So therefore it brings me to the conclusion, I have to come to conclusion, and all you Bible thumpers and so-called believers, you better listen to me. It brings me to the conclusion that that amendment in and of itself lets me know that it was not established on the principles, the laws, the statutes, and ordinances of the book. You see, alas, take notice and understand in full disclosure that I'm bringing to you today. See, it is illegal in many places in America, if not all, to not wear your seatbelt. But it's not a crime to practice the heinous crime of idolatry. You see what I'm trying to tell you? You can disobey, dishonor, and blaspheme Yeshua and Yahweh. The First Amendment gives you that license to do so, with the guarantee that you're fully protected under that First Amendment to do so. You see, so therefore I have established to you that that First Amendment is not from the Creator, but it is from Satan. See, Satan dictated the making of the First Amendment. He absolutely is behind it, was the founder of it, and the influence of it. He almost held the pen when it was being written down. You see, the thing about it is, the First Amendment brings about the understanding to me that there is no value in mankind's obedience to honor, obey, and worship Yahweh. But it gives them carte blanche and freedom by that law to disobey, dishonor, and disregard and not retain Yahweh in their knowledge. Therefore, this First Amendment, by them obeying it, brings millions of people on the edge of a cliff to be handed over to a reprobate mind. You got to listen to me. It is impossible for Yahweh's true people to be caught up in idolatrous worship and think that they're going to make it to the kingdom. You see, time after time, over and over in this book, Yahweh was displeased with them and many were destroyed. Well, I'll just tell you what, I'll just go ahead and read it. For those New Testament believers only, Christians today, and for the people of the Torah that don't like the Gospels, I wish to tell you something. In the book of Romans, and I challenge you to read it, Romans chapter 1 and chapter 2. I challenge anyone that's listening to this to read it, and read it slowly and break it down. Don't use the non-inspired version. Do you some Greek and Hebrew study words on it and really dig into it. You know, there are many people that will dig into and they can tell you every game, every football game that a certain team won or lost. They can tell you all about it. They can tell you the scores. They can tell you what kind of jerseys they wear. They can tell you how big the stadium is. They can tell you how many people it hold. They can tell you how many songs Madonna wrote or some country singer wrote. They can memorize them. They can sing them. But do they understand the book of Romans in a reprobate mind? I would venture to say that not many do. But I would hope and pray that if they can get a hold of this audio, that they will after today. That they'll understand that again, I'm not judging anyone, but my heart goes out as a watchman on the wall, knowing the state of people today and not trying to pry in their life, but to present them with the truth. They have been presented with idolatrous lies, and I am, in my heart of hearts, I am trying to present truth here today. And let this be said beyond a shadow of a doubt. I could be in there playing with my kids, or I could be in there kissing on my wife. I could be in there just resting and taking a nap. But see, the Creator won't let me do that because He knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that His Word must go forth to bring about the righteous judgment that He's going to bring. And He just happens to be wanting to use a lot of people. And I just happen to be one of those people that He chooses to use. Doesn't make me special. It's just that He finds me in a state of obedience, willing to be used by Him, just like Isaiah said, "Here am I, send me." So I'm not nothing special. I'm just a person that happened to step outside of the box of idolatrous worship and step outside of the box of the Constitution, step outside of the box of a mainstream church, and just decided to say that, you know what? It does matter to have a personal relationship with Him. It does matter to strive to be obedient to Him because there are eternal consequences. But anyway, before I get off on that tangent, in Romans chapter 1 and verse 18, and you people that are not believers, listen to me as well, please, I beg you. But in Romans chapter 1 verse 18, "For the wrath of Yahweh is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness, unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness." Now, some would say the Constitution, the First Amendment, holds the truth. What? Don't you remember? Listen to this quote. "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." Right? You see, there's a paradigm or a matrix that people live in and believe that just because it's the Constitution, that is truth. Just because they're laws that they pass, that they're truth. Just because a preacher stands up and preaches 30 minutes to you and then goes and eats dinner with you at some restaurant, that he's telling the truth. Well, that's not fact. Okay, they hold the truth in unrighteousness. In other words, what they present to you is their truth. What they present to you is what should be obeyed based on their ideology. But it winds up being their truth in unrighteousness, and the wrath of Yahweh is going to come upon those people. It has in the past, and it will today, and it will tomorrow, and it will continue until the end. You see, because, listen to me, verse 19 in Romans chapter 1, "Because that which may be known of Yahweh is manifest in them, for Yahweh hath showed it unto them." See, all creation is without excuse. Because whether you look up at the stars and the moon, and I don't recommend you look at the sun, you'll mess your eyes up, but you know it's there. In the heart of hearts of people that are logical thinkers, they know beyond a shadow of a doubt there's a creator to create all this. It didn't just explode and wind up being what it is. You see, and these things are made known and manifest. Every time you walk out the door and you see a bird, you know beyond a shadow of a doubt. Every time you see the trees and the wind blowing them, you know beyond a shadow of a doubt there's a creator. But they want to hold to that truth that the unrighteousness that they present to you is actually the law of the land. They want to believe that that's the law of the creation. And that is why you find people in a state, listen to me, you find people in a state that they just love the First Amendment, where there ain't no religion or nobody can be stopped from a religion. But when you make a distinction between clean and unclean, holy and unholy, you have to wind up with the conclusion that America's not clean and America's not holy. Because, See, blind patriots and false preachers and nominal Christians, they continue to view the First Amendment as wisdom. But they clearly don't have eyes to see, and they don't have ears to understand that absolutely their allegiance to it is a supreme evidence of their blindness toward the law of the Creator. It is foolishness, and they have ungenerated minds in believing that. See, actually, the Constitution does not honor the statutes, commandments, and ordinances of the Creator, but it vehemently dishonors the Creator. And so do the lawmakers. And so do the inhabitants that follow those laws. You see, listen to me. Never in society, in terms of this book I'm reading to you, was there given idolatrous freedom, or i.e. evil rights. Yahweh never wanted them to exist and be protected by any law of the land. See, it's supposed to be the solemn responsibility of any lawmaking body to make an unmistakable distinction between holy and unholy. You see what I'm saying? See, and by doing that, the government could properly function in its role out of Romans 13. But instead, the government has caused America to what? To, in the face of every believer, a true believer, to worship unclean spirits. It has been the First Amendment has been the door opening for every cage of every unclean spirit to be welcome on the streets of America and the homes of America. And that would bring us to the point of understanding that America is Mystery Babylon in Revelation chapter 17 and 18, because it's become a home of every unclean demon. And the First Amendment has given carte blanche for those demons to be here. Not only that, the First Amendment has given comfort and aid to all forms of heathenism. And they make no distinction between the worship of the true and living Yahweh and idolatry. And again, I say they do not discourage it, but they encourage idolatry. And anyone that practices idolatry, whether you look at the Old Testament or you look at the New Testament, they do not inherit the kingdom of Yahweh. And see, the thing about it is, there is no way to talk your way out of this. The only way you can get out of it is to repent of it and turn from it before a reprobate mind is handed to you. Do I hand it? Do religious leaders hand it? No. Yahweh hands it over based on individual actions. You see? See, since everybody have the so-called right to believe what they desire, listen to me, then everyone resents being condemned by what I'm saying today. And I'm not condemning anyone. I'm not condemning anyone for their beliefs. They can believe what they want to believe, but the fact of the business is being who I am and what I believe based on the tenets, based on the statutes, based on the commandments and ordinances of the Creator. I have to sit here before you today, before this microphone, and tell you that this is foolishness for you to believe in anything other than the Creator. It is foolishness to have His name and say you belong to Him and not follow after Him with your heart, soul, mind, and strength. It is foolishness. Now, do I respect other people's opinions? You better believe it. You better believe it. You have the right to believe as you want to believe, but the fact of the business is who I am and what I believe is that the end result for you is going to be death and hell and destruction. And even while you're alive, if you get to a certain point, you will be handed over to a reprobate state, you see. So therefore, the evil fruits of the First Amendment, they're far more deep than people realize on its surface. See, if you want to know the truth about it, the evil manifestations that are taking place in America are because of the First Amendment. Whether it be Hollywood movies, whatever it may be, they have the right to do that. You see, based on the First Amendment. So the Constitutionists that believe, in the amendments and the Declaration of Independence and all that good stuff,